All right, guys, listen, we need to have a real discussion here today. We need to have a real conversation here today. I recently had something that happened to me that needs to be talked about, especially on a particular platform like this. This is going to be a different type of video today than what I normally do on this channel, but I wanted to be able to utilize my platform to drive a discussion, and a discussion that I don't really see as active as what it currently is, at least from a media perspective, a content perspective, in the way that I think I can bring it to you guys here today. So I'm sure that you're already looking at the title of the video, you're looking at the thumbnail, and you're like, what is going on with good old MTR? What's wrong, right? So guys, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do it the best way that I know how, which is to tell you a story. There's a couple of things that I want you guys to be able to do, all right? First off, watch this video until the end so you can get a full picture and perspective of what happened and what's going on. The second thing is make sure that you are an active participator within this discussion and dialogue. Go down to that comment box, that comment section, and give me your thoughts, all right? So here's what recently happened. I was recently perusing my favorite dating app of choice, who will remain unnamed because there's no free promo over here anymore, okay? I was perusing the dating app, came up, swiped on a pretty young thing, okay? We began to engage in a conversation that went particularly well. Decided at a certain time in that conversation that we eventually wanted to link up. So we attempted to do so. Day of, she told me, hey, can you pick me up because something is wrong with my car? So I asked her, well, what's your address? Because I got to know the location to understand the cost-benefit analysis of me switching up my plans. I also looked back on the dating app and reaffirmed her degree of badness. And I said, sure. She only ended up being about 5 minutes away. So I went and I did that. I picked her up. And this is relevant to the conversation as well, but it's going to take an interesting turn. So I picked her up. We met. She gets in the passenger seat of the car. And then we're off to the destination. Okay. Before we get to the destination, obviously, you have to park. Now, we're on a main street. We're going down a main street, decently sized street. See the destination. I pull off and make a right down a side street, which is not as big. Now, it's recently snowed in this area. So what is a normal size side street is now a side street with snow on it. So it's even smaller. And there's cars parked on both sides of the street. So I'm going down the street, and all the way on the other side of the block, I'm seeing another car come towards me, right? So we both do the passive maneuver thing, which is to pull over to the side a little bit on both of our respective sides of the street to see who was going to want to go first or what have you. I'm looking at the car up ahead. He pulls over to the side. I pull over a little bit, and then I see him pull over. So then I just start going down the street. As I'm going down the street, I see cars, headlights light up that are parked. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be a parking spot. So I stop the car, I roll down my window, and I engage in a conversation with the person that is parked. When I do that, the conversation maybe lasted 5 to 10 seconds. It wasn't a long amount of time. That's when the car on the other side of the street, known as an SUV, comes barreling down towards me, right? And is now face to face with me. And I would say it was probably about 5 to 10 feet of space between my car and now this car, which now no one could go anywhere. Not my car, not the car that's on the side. And now this person is blocking me. The first thing that I said is I looked to my passenger, the passenger that I just met less than 10 minutes, 10 minutes ago. I said, do you know whose car that is? Because I'm just thinking it makes absolutely no sense. We were standing there for 10-ish seconds. It makes no sense why this person would be this aggressive right now and trying to outmaneuver or outpower this situation. It just didn't make any sense to me. So she's like, no, I have no idea whose car that is. I've never met that person in my life. So I'm just like, well, what's going on? So I turn and I look to the left and I begin to have another conversation with the car that's parked, re-asking them, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to try to back up because this person is there. The person then puts on the high beams, right? And begins to inch even closer to my car. And I'm like, I don't got time for this. This is supposed to be a day off from creating content for all of y'all, just so I can get out and have a good, safe, clean time. Okay. So I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to back up because this is just preposterous, right? So I begin to back up. Okay. I begin to back up. I am backing up out of the street, right? Now I back up out of the street, but my window is still down because I was just having a conversation with the person that was parked on the road. So I'm backing up. I pull over to the right. My window was still down. Said person rolls by me and is hanging out of his car. And the first thing that I thought of is, shit, he looks just like me. It's a brother, right? I've never seen him before, right? My passenger eventually said that she had never seen him before. But here's something I wanted to call out is that I looked in his eyes and I saw pure mania. I saw pure mania. I saw pure emotion. And I saw pure and utter hate in his eyes. Okay. Now, mind you, my window was still down. He's saying something to me, but it's not really saying. He's like screaming shit at me. And I couldn't even hear what he was saying. I didn't even remember what he was saying. But I remember what I said. And here's what I said. And mind you, guys, I have a very verbose vocabulary. If I want to sting at people, I absolutely could. And I can. But here's what I said. You'll get over it. Move on. Now, mind you, I'm telling him he's going to get over it, but I'm the one who backed up out of the situation. Because like I said, I just wanted to have a good time that night and avoid all the bullshit. And what I was saying, I was screaming over to him, you'll get over it. Move on. That's it. So he's parked there now, hurling expletives or whatever he was saying at me. And I move on. I just go driving up the block. By the time that I start driving up the block, the damn parking spot has already been taken by someone else, right? So I'm like, God damn it, whatever. But I go find another parking spot. It's not a big deal. Okay. I get to the end of the block. I look in my rear view mirror. And lo and behold, I'm seeing the same SUV doing a 3-point turn. Okay. So now I'm at the end of the block. I'm at the stop sign and I just pause there for a second to make sure that he's doing a 3-point turn and is coming back. And he comes barreling down the street in my direction. Turn on my left signal, make a left-hand turn. This person makes a left-hand turn right on the same street that I'm on right now. Okay. Now, when I tell you this person is tailgating me with their high beams on, it's exactly what it was, but I'm still moving at a measured speed. Get up to the next street, make another left. All right. Then I make a right. Now I'm back on the same first larger street, right? In this neighborhood, this predominantly white neighborhood where all these restaurants and bars are, right? So I look behind me. I'm now on the main street. And of course, this person is behind me still, tailgating the shit out of me. Now I'm saying to myself, okay, for a person that is going to get angry at me taking too much time is not then a person that would follow me after the situation had concluded, at least from my perspective. And even my perspective, wasn't even a situation at all. Like I said, I was just trying to enjoy my night tonight, okay? With no drama, no bullshit. But, you know, some people want to bring you down to the abyss that they live at, okay? So anyway, he is right behind me. He's tailgating me. Then we pull up to a red light. Now, here's what was going through my mind. There's a bunch of things that went through my mind. I'm at the red light, and one thing that my pops always told me growing up, this is even before I started to drive, right? Just living and being in New York. He said, when you pull up to red lights, unless you were the first person in that line, never be bumper to bumper up to the cars ahead of you. Why? Just in case someone tries to carjack you, just in case you see someone behind you that's maybe sliding on the road, is unable to stop, you have options, all right? If you give yourself some clearance from the car in front of you, you have some options. And immediately that thought popped into my mind as we stood at this red light. Give myself some options, all right? So I'm stopped at the red light. He stopped at the red light. Lo and behold, this person's car door opens and he walks out and he starts to begin to walk towards my vehicle, okay? Now, at this point, there was a couple of other things that flashed into my mind, all right? Here I'm going to give you guys what I was thinking. Number one, he wasn't big in stature at all. If I was to guess, I would say he was probably like 5'6", $140 to $150 at most. He was very small in stature. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. So that's the first thing that popped up in my mind, is that if I have to defend myself in this particular situation, I think it would be slight work. But here's the second thing that popped up into my mind. And mind you, this is probably 1 to 2 seconds that all of these things were circulating in my mind to determine, based off of the information and the data that I am receiving, what's the best way for me to leave this situation relatively unscathed and my passenger protected. The second thing that I thought of is that for someone to have the gall to follow me, right, after a situation where there was no aggression shown from me. In fact, I was being passive in a sense of backing down, right? But this person has now decided to be a predator by getting out the car, right? An emotional predator. So within that, my next conclusion is that he must have some type of weapon on him, being of that size and that stature, and coming up to my car. That's the second thing that I thought of. The third thing that I thought of in this very brief 1 to 2 seconds is, why does it have to be someone in my own community? All right, why? Now, let me tell you guys something else that I haven't mentioned before. I don't even think on this channel, but I'll tell you guys right now, I am a CCW license holder, and I avidly support my Second Amendment rights, okay? I went and got my CCW license after Nipsey was murdered, because I said to myself, who I have to be most fearful of in this world is those that look exactly like me. And that's one of the most saddest realizations that you have to come to as a member within this own space, in this own community. And I could bring up interview after interview of our favorite rap stars saying the same exact thing that I'm saying right now. You are most likely to die by the hands of someone that looks just like you, regardless of if you are in the hood or if you're in a predominantly white neighborhood like I was at the time that this particular incident was happening. That's what flashed into my mind in this brief 1 to 2 seconds. So I said to myself, what is the best situation for me right now? And I watch like a lot of self-defense YouTube videos. And like I said, I got my license, so I've taken classes and things like this. So something that I always remember is that your vehicle is one of the best force multipliers that you particularly have. So me getting outside of my vehicle to face someone else just really makes no sense. And side note, guys, you never want to let somebody of abyss level or emotional level thinking drag you down to the pitiful existence that they reside in. Okay? Bosses never have to talk to the customer unless it's on the boss's terms. You understand what I'm saying? Don't ever allow yourself to be pulled down like a crab in a barrel to someone else's existence unless it's on your own terms. Okay? So I said to myself, how can I get out this situation relatively unscathed? So The voice of my pops popped up in my head, right? And I took evasive maneuvers. So I went around the car in front of me. It was a red light. And I started maneuvering myself between all of the oncoming traffic that was happening. I looked in my rearview mirror. I saw him running back to his car. I made a left turn. I made a left turn. I started going down the street. Okay. Now I'm going down the street. I make a right turn. Wasn't watching the signage. It just so happened to be a dead end. Okay. Now, mind you, the passenger that I just met 10 or so minutes ago, 10 to 15 minutes ago, was still in my passenger seat. But hold on, we'll get back to her. Okay. So now we're down this dead end. And as I mentioned before, I am a Second Amendment supporter and was prepared to defend myself and the person that was in my passenger seat to the best in the full force of my ability. Okay. Thankfully, for both me and this person, he did not come down that block. I'm not sure if he didn't see me go down that block or he just decided, nah, I feel like I won. He ran away. So hooray me, I won. But he decided not to go down the block, or maybe he didn't see me. But I say that to say it's thankful for both him as well as myself. Because guys, at the end of the day, I just wanted to go out this night and have a particularly nice time. Now, the best case scenario in this situation is that both people walk out of the situation unscathed. And I'm saying that from the most mature component of my heart, because at the time, having your back up against the wall, and I would say my back wasn't up against the wall until I went into the dead end, at which time I was ready, fully ready to defend myself. Okay. But I say that to say, even if he came down that dead end block, it was going to end up in a situation that neither of us particularly wanted, at least me. And I'm saying that because throughout this entire situation, I remained as logical, as stoic, as clear thinking as what I possibly can, even thinking about things that videos that I've seen on YouTube, my pops in my ear telling me not to be on the bumper of the cars ahead of me. All of these different things was going through my head. And the fact of the matter is that I had to take responsibility for this irrationally acting black man. I had to take responsibility for it because he was overrid with his emotions, his pride and his ego, that he was acting simply irrationally. So I had to do it for him. I had to think for him. But the reason why I said that it's good for both of us is because no matter how the situation would have turned up, if he came down that dead end street, we both would have been impacted. There's a couple of different outcomes that could have happened. Whether or not the outcome was police getting involved, whether or not the outcome was self-defense or force multipliers becoming involved, or if the situation was no force multipliers, right? And hand to hand, the fact of the matter is it would have messed up my night. Perhaps it would have messed up my day. Perhaps it would have messed up my week. Perhaps it would have messed up my month, or perhaps it would have messed up my life. Let me tell you guys something real quick. No matter if it's friends in and around your life or conflict that you have in your life, you never, ever want to deal with people with nothing to lose. Let me repeat that. You never want to deal with people with nothing to lose, because those are some of the most dangerous people in our society, because they make decisions fly by night. They make decisions on how they feel in the moment. And if you multiply that with emotions, then there's no telling what animal you have on your hands. You understand me? And I want you guys to be able to know that. Now, listen, if I come up to what did I learn out of this particular situation, and I've touched on a couple of the learnings throughout this video, but I'll reiterate and restate some for you guys as well. All right. The first is one of the ones that I just recently said, never deal with, especially in conflict and all of these situations. Number one, avoid conflict at the end of the day, right? They're not going to tell this to you, growing up and shit like that. But the best way, if your goal in that night is to simply be happy, be joyous, be free. Don't let someone else in their own space who have dealt with their own lives, their own mistakes, or whatever were born into, drag you down. This is this crab in a barrel mentality. Make sure that you do everything in your power to remove yourself out of the situation of abyss level thinking people. Please, please. If you ain't gonna do it for me, do it for yourself and do it for your family. Okay. The second thing is, guys, when I talk about this whole masculinity thing on the channel, there's a couple of key things that I usually bring up. One of the things is that I bring up stoicism and logical thinking. I think that this particular story rings true for that. There's some other things that I bring up, such as your assertiveness, your confidence, your fitness, and a couple other things I'm not going to get into. But one of the other things that I really never talk about within that is your ability to defend yourself, right? Knowing when you're in particularly high, intense situations, to know when and how to evade if the numbers are not on your side or the situation is not on your side. Knowing when and how to defend yourself, whether it be from taking a martial arts or utilizing your Second Amendment rights to protect yourself, your family, and your loved ones, or the random young lady who you just picked up and is sitting in the car like, what the hell is going on? Okay. Or that person. You understand what I'm saying? Being a masculine dude, you have to be able to protect yourself and your loved ones. That's essentially what I'm trying to say right there. The other thing is there's only but so many people or so many types of people that you can help and that you can save. Okay. My pops told me something. My pops has been a New York City school teacher for 30 plus years. And one thing that he also used to tell me is like boys around teenagers around 14, 15, 16 years old, you can pretty much tell at that junction in their life what type of human being they're going to be into the future. And if you don't get to them before then the likelihood of them having a positive outcome in their life is slim to none. And I go with this within the understanding that you cannot save everybody. All right. So just as much as I try to mentor a lot of you out there, make sure that as you give the information that you learn within your life to other brothers that look and act just like you do or are on the fence, right? Just understand, take the subset of the population that you feel as though you can help the most instead of expending all of your energy of those that are too far gone. At the end of the day, some just have to live through life experiences, and life will teach them very horrible lessons. Okay. Now let's address my passenger real quick, because actually what was occurring with her is actually a particular topic that we talk on this channel from time to time. So her particular demeanor throughout this entire exchange was one of that, I wish a ninja would, or that if he gets out his car, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. And I'm listening to her say all of these aggressive, masculine things. And at first I'm just like, oh God, I got a masculine woman on my hands right here that I didn't know about. That's the first thing that I was thinking. The second thing that I was thinking is just to ignore her in this particular situation. So just to give you guys some insight, after the situation had officially concluded, where he didn't come down the block, it took up a major component of our conversation that night. And what she told me is that if she saw, because she wasn't paying attention after we went back onto the main street, but if she saw him get out the car, she said she was going to hop out the car first, which is mind-boggling to me. So I had to have a conversation with her regarding how her demeanor at that particular time and her hopping out that car was going to do a lot more harm than good. So just imagine if we were at that red light and she hops out the car and tries to get into this random stranger's face, right? which a lot of you guys probably hear a woman getting aggressive like that. And it's like, oh, she's a ride and or a die. Nah, I'm not in the mindset that I think that black women need to defend or protect black men. I think you should let black men handle their issues and you do not get involved at all. Okay? That's just my particular position, right? And I had to explain to her that if she got out that car, I would not have been able to take the evasive maneuvers and actions to put myself in a better situation. Because especially if someone's coming up to the car, you don't want to be getting out the car. And if they decide to come and hit you or what have you, those split seconds actually matter, right? So she said, I didn't even think of it like that. You're right. It's good that I didn't get out the car because look at us. We're still on the way to our destination. No one got hurt. You don't have a black eye. You know what I'm saying? Or anything like that. So I had to sit her down and talk to her regarding correct ways to conduct yourself and hold yourself to a higher class and standard in situations like this. Now, she's particularly young, so she doesn't have much life experience. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. But I describe her as masculine in her characteristics and her traits, but the fact of the matter is throughout our conversations through that night, she's the first one that said it to me, that she has masculine characteristics. And guess why? Yeah, we went deep. Single mother background. She felt like she and her grandmother were the men of the household because she's the oldest sibling. And so the cycle continues. You understand what I'm saying? And I think it's important to address that. And at the end of it, she profusely thanked me regarding how I conducted within the situation and how mature it was and this, that, and the third. So guys, I say this to say you never know as well who you might be a form of inspiration for. You never know how your actions are going to impact others that are looking for additional, if not better ways to conduct themselves in their lives. But you have to be responsible for you and your actions. Guys, I'm going to conclude this story in this situation right here. And I wanted to toss this up and I maintain my point. One of the most dangerous people in our society, in our world, is the emotional black man. And it saddens me to see it rear its ugly head time and time again, not only from a media perspective, but in each of our lives. All right. That's when I'm going to leave this conversation here today. Guys, feel free to leave, again, a question, a comment, or concern down in the description box down below. But I wanted to be able to talk to you guys authentically because it's been on my mind. And I thought that I have an appropriate platform to be able to talk about these different situations that can happen to us. R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle. And for those other in our lives that have suffered from gun-related violence, wish that the violence would just stop at the end of the day. It's sad to see so much of our brothers and sisters that fall to irrational decision-making and emotional actions. All right? Until next time, YouTube. Peace!
Hood booga, hood booga. Hood booga, goodbye.